Well, good afternoon. I did not expect to lose my appetite for the rest of the day, but it's gone after Erica's speech and her addressing the nation earlier today, about 2 hours ago. Creepiest thing I've ever seen in my life. She's not beating allegations. If I erased every single thing that I know about Erica Kirk right now in my mind, right? I got Men in Black, and that was my first impression of her. Whatever they said she did it. Because that was the weirdest speech ever. It was weird, it was creepy, and it was only 8 minutes. They call everybody else grifters, right? Come on to the Charlie Kirk show with Charlie Kirk not on the show for Erica Kirk to address the nation. She gets up there, she talks for 8 minutes, not talking about a dang thing. And then they play old Charlie Kirk clips for the next hour and a half, 2 hours. That was the weirdest speech I've ever seen. And let's break it down. I won't pause it that much. I'm gonna play it mostly through, but I think this is something that everybody needs to see. Make sure you hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the sub button. We're on a road to 21K, and I appreciate all the support along the way. But grab your popcorn and maybe a Bible as well. Because this might creep you out. Just a heads up.
Seems to me that nothing will ever be enough for the evil in this world. Our country has become unrecognizable. These people have perverted the truth to the point that they motivated the murder of my husband. They have continuously tried to assassinate the president, and anyone who stands in their way is labeled hateful, racist, fascist, and every other trigger word that is grossly dishonest. We want the best for our country. They don't. This is why Charlie started Turning Point USA in the first place. He didn't trust the radicalized liberal teachers. And this past Saturday, it was a school teacher, of all people, a school teacher that attempted to change our history for the worst with bullets. And everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me, and I wanted to meet some of them face to face, quite frankly. Why have a conversation about me when you can have a conversation with me? So, for example, a journalist from the Daily Mail came up to me. She introduced herself, and she was very gracious. She was saying, "You look so beautiful. I'm so sorry for your loss." To which I replied, "It is so nice to put a name to the face, especially with all of the slander, the lies, accusations that are out there surrounding my husband's murder and myself." And I said to her, "You know what's so interesting? This is my first time at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I find it so fascinating, the dynamic that is going on right now, because everyone is all dressed up, and you guys are co-mingling in and out of each other's cocktail parties. And so for one night, you are able to put aside all of your differences for the sake of freedom of speech."
And just to spoil it, she's not stepping down as CEO, right? I tried to tell everybody that on live last night. So just to spoil that, if anybody thought or had questions or you were waiting on her to step down today as CEO, she didn't do that. This speech was on political violence, which is exactly what I expected.
And then by Monday morning, things will go back to being an absolute bloodbath between all of you. To which she replied, literally, she said, "I know. Isn't it special, right? Isn't tonight so special?" And following that conversation, it was time to take our seats, and we went into the big ballroom where the dinner was. And one of the first things I noticed when I walked into that room was quite literally the proximity of the opposing outlets to one another. So you have one table here that's Politico, and another table here that's Fox, and another table here that's WAPO, and you're all crammed together, elbow to elbow. And to make the night even more of a spectacle, every single 10-person table had 10 bottles of wine. And
Who styled her? She looks creepy in all black. Why does she have a button up like she's a dude? I I, I don't know what's going on right now. This lady is weird.
The president of the White House Correspondents Association, she did a great job of trying to make the evening have that feeling of Americana. You know, we were in a room celebrating freedom of speech despite our differences. And the US Marine Band performed the national anthem so beautifully. And then shortly thereafter, gunshots rang out and total chaos ensued. And you guys have all seen what happened next because there are 1,000 videos of it. So let's discuss that fact for a second. If you were in that room, you had no way of knowing what the status of the shooter was, how many there were, or honestly, really anything. It was just utter chaos. And so during an active shooting, these journalists are using their phones to find moments to capture for clips. They were so concerned about getting a video in a room with an active shooter that they could have accidentally and quite literally filmed themselves being shot. Many of those people have become so desensitized that fight or flight became secondary to the opportunity of putting themselves into the story, which ironically breaks the number one rule of journalism. And again, ironically enough, the shooter was a teacher.
As you can see, she's not really talking about anything, just yapping at this point. I could be up there, but we'll let her continue.
You have these people who are supposed to be teaching our children the future of this country, and he's so unhinged that he is able to teach children by day.
She has no say in speaking on children. She should not be able to speak on children, considering you were talking to a 15-year-old girl, a sophomore in high school when you were 25 and you said you wanted to touch her butt. You have no say so. You cannot comment at all on anything dealing with children. You're banned.
And then attempt to murder the president of the United States by night. And in his manifesto, he starts by contextualizing himself by saying, I am a citizen of the United States of America.
Let me jump to some of the parts that stood out to me because it's already halfway over. And I promise y'all, I'm not going to waste y'all's time. She didn't talk about nothing, right? Nathan. So we don't even need to go through it all. I just want to point out one part, 1 out of 8 minutes. Again, she talked about nothing in this 8 minutes. It was a lecture on political violence. And then they went into an hour, hour and a half, 2 hour segment of straight old Charlie Kirk clips, right? Complete lead on of this whole I got an announcement to make. There was no announcement at all. She's talking about political violence. Let me show y'all this interesting, scary part. She goes in and talk about Jimmy Kimmel, right? Who cares? Nobody really cares at all about what this woman has to say about any of these topics. I don't know, but they're trying to make her seem like she's this relevant person to America, which a lot of us are interested into seeing what she said because we're waiting for her to step down, right? She's so interesting for somebody that has a platform. So she's relevant in a sense where people are so creeped out that it's entertaining. Not that we actually care, like, oh my gosh, Erica's speaking. Not in that way. But she goes into talking about Jimmy Kimmel and that joke he made about the first lady, whatever her name is, Millennia, whatever, talking about Trump being old and that joke about him dying in a way or whatever. Look at how she looks, right? Speaking on this topic.
Of an expected widow. The glow of an expected
Let me zoom in.
widow. Glow of an expected widow.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
The glow of an expected widow.
Dude, everyone, please look at this lady. I promise y'all, out of all the clips of her eyes doing that thing, I never got to see it in live time. It was always just a playback, and I was like, dang, they are doing something weird. What's happening? This was my first time seeing it live. It's happening. Look at her eyes. Look at her eyes. She is creepy. This isn't comforting to me. I don't want you near my children. Like I said before, if I was Men in Black and my memory was erased, and this was my first impression of Erika Kirk, whatever they said she did it. There is something behind those eyes that I'm quite literally afraid of finding out. You can just tell when you look at somebody that they've seen something. They've seen some things in life. They've done and seen some things in life. She has those eyes. She has those eyes. She's done some things. She's seen some things. And I quite frankly am afraid to find out. Because this isn't normal. This isn't normal. And don't let these people gaslight you into thinking it is. This is creepy. This is weird. I don't like throwing that demonic word around. I really don't. But if someone were to say, what does a demonic person look like, in my opinion, this is somebody that I would probably show a picture of and say, look, there's something going on with something going on with this lady. There's something going on with her. Man, this was the craziest part of the entire 8 minutes because it was happening throughout the video as well. She was talking and then she would be like, and she was like, I'm like, what is going on, bro? Like a snake, literally just. And I'm like, dog, listen, therapy, repent. What was that? I don't know. But when she started doing all of that, the neck turning and eyes getting big, it was happening in live time. I said, bro, what is going on? I couldn't look away from the screen. I felt like I was in a trance. Something's wrong with this lady. She also went in to talk about the last thing I'll say is she also accused Candace Owens. I don't even want.
Things will go back to being an absolute. The dynamic I noticed when I walked into, and to make the night even more next,
she talked about
they were so concerned about getting a video in a fight or flight. He's so unhinged. And I can speak firsthand to that unbearable toll president who has, and after each one, and in some cases, a sick disappointment that the shooter was.
I don't know. Y'all get the point. But she went in and she only talked about Candace Owens once, and that was when she said, I have comedians doing whiteface, something else. And she said, I have Candace Owens out here accusing me of murdering my husband. And Candace has never said that. Candace has never said that. Barron has never said that either. Quite literally, the only thing that people are saying, it may be figuratively, you murdered your husband because you're involved in some type of way. So everybody involved plays a role, regardless of who pulled the trigger or who did. But Candace has never said, you did it, Erika. Nobody's ever said that. There's some people out there that's probably said that. But most logical people haven't said, Erika, you came up with the game plan and you did it. But that's what she said. She decided to address Candace Owens, but then bring up a claim that she didn't even accuse her of. Weird. But let me know what y'all think. Again, it was nothing. 8 minutes of her just yapping. She talks about Candace one time, and then she does that thing with her eyes throughout the entire clip, to be honest, throughout the entire video. And then they go straight into Charlie Kirk replay of all his old stuff for the next hour, hour and a half. It was very pathetic for something that she gassed up. Enough is enough. Let me address the nation. That was weak as hell, if we just want to be completely honest. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Make sure you like the video before you get out of here. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We on the road to 21K. I appreciate all the support along the way, and I will see y'all on the next one.